It's kind of hard to imagine rich folks not flaunting their wealth, but Cillian Murphy, despite his $20 million net worth, is quite the exception. In fact, the Peaky Blinders star is so ridiculously low profile that most of what he does is only between him and God. But all jokes aside, today we'd like you to tag along as we uncover some of the most expensive things that he spent his money on. Homes. You might have heard of countless mythical creatures that are famed for how closely they protect their dwellings. But believe it or not, Cillian Murphy outdoes them all. If you think we're exaggerating things, well, he's guarded his £1.4 million Dublin residence so fiercely that only mere crumbs of information have surfaced about it up till now. And here's why that's weird. He first bought it in 2015, and it's been 7 years since he relocated to it. After some 14-odd years of residing in London, that is, and nothing of immense value about the property has gotten out. As a matter of fact, the whereabouts of his former London property are as obscure as ever, as if it didn't even exist. Anyway, here's what little we could find about his new, eerily private home. To begin with, it's located in Monkstown, in South County, Dublin, described as the characteristic, picturesque Irish village. Monkstown is housed between the coastal town of Dunleary and Blackrock, which serves as Dublin's administrative and educational center. Apart from a lesson in Ireland's geography, we've learned that Murphy's house is one of those period properties, Victorian terrace style if we're to be exact, that was built in 1836. As per the estate agent from the Sherry Fitzgerald Group, this Belgrave Square North house retains many of its original magnificent features. For instance, most of the rooms, of which 6 are double bedrooms, still have the original fireplaces. To boot, the drawing room is also pretty much intact. Now that we've given you the only details available about its insides, let's quickly describe its surroundings as well, of which, weirdly enough, Cillian has revealed way more than the house itself. Briefly, and from what we've gathered from one of his interviews with GQ, it's a short distance from the Irish Sea and rests comfortably between a bunch of medieval-looking mountains. All in all, it's the perfect place for a private man like Murphy who enjoys an occasional hike or walk with his dog. Cars. Although owning a team of horses benefits his strange personality more than having a set of cars, the Thomas Shelby actor doesn't really travel on horseback. Instead, he's got several expensive cars in his collection. But since he's so unlike your typical celebrity, it's almost entirely made up of luxury vehicles as opposed to supercars. For example, in place of Ferraris, Cillian owns 2 Audis, namely the A8L and the Q7, in the colors black and white respectively. As far as their prices are concerned, they range between $56,640 to $95,000. Besides the Audis, of which the A8L seems to be his go-to vehicle for events, he also owns a Lexus RX 450, which must have set him back about $47,920. In addition to the Lexus, he also owns another car in the sedan category, i.e. a Mercedes S-Class, that's been averaged at around $94,250. Boy, his driveway must look magnificent. Anywho, and before these prices make you liken him to those run-of-the-mill evil millionaires, let's quickly mention that he's often been spotted going about his business on a bicycle. Sadly, we couldn't get the bike's model. Nevertheless, we've got quite a lot of information about his philanthropy, which will help you see how he's nothing like your average rich dude. Charity. One of the major things that sets Cillian apart from most rich folk is his empathy for everyday people, especially children. Now, before you accuse us of just saying things, we'd like to back what we've just said by bringing in his patronage of the UNESCO Child and Family Research Center at the NUI Galway. However, his support of this center, which has been working to promote empathy at Irish secondary schools since 2020, is just a single example of his charitable nature. Another example of him rising to the occasion for the betterment of Ireland includes his support of the Help Our Homeless Radiothon. The said radiothon, as its title implies, was meant to help raise money to help homeless people relocate, and it was, moreover, geared at nipping the rampant homeless problem in Ireland in the bud. Now, for those of you who are still not convinced of our claims about his soft spot for children, here's a quote from the Radiothon promotions that reiterates just how much he values them. To quote, "Homelessness has a terrible impact on people's lives, especially on the lives of children. While we're not sure of the amount that Cillian himself donated to the cause, he did help them meet their target, around €40,000, as a result of his collaboration. As for people who think his philanthropy only comes out when things hit close to home, they have another thing coming, because in 2019, he donated pieces of his Peaky Blinders wardrobe to a cancer hospital in England. Yes, hold your horses. We thankfully know which pieces and what hospital. Basically, he donated his statement cap from the 5th season and his overcoat from the 3rd installment of the show. Sources say that the pieces went on auction to help Manchester's cancer care establishment, the Christie NHS Foundation Trust, build upgraded and better technologies for their patients. Music records. Although he's been successful in keeping most aspects of his personality under wraps, the one thing that he can't help but rave about is his love for music. The man's a huge music junkie. This explains why he likes splurging on music records so much. How can we say for sure, you inquire? Well, in one of his interviews, which, as far as we recall, came out around the time of his 40th birthday, he admitted to it. When asked for an explanation, he elaborated that as inconvenient and as expensive as they are, records just sound better. In the same interview, he shared that his most recent purchase, and this was in 2017 mind you, was a Nels Cline jazz record. Sadly, he hasn't gone on record, if you know what we mean, to share any more of his buys, so that's all we can tell you about his record collection. But if we were to rely on assumption alone, we could bet on him possessing a few Radiohead and the Beatles records, considering they're two of his favorite bands. Vacations. While Cillian has revealed West Kerry and the Blasket Islands to be among some of his favorite travel spots, Ireland isn't the only place that he's been to. As a matter of fact, he's pretty well traveled for a man who likes to keep his life in the shadows. Even though we don't have any of the receipts, we know for a fact that he's vacationed in Tokyo and the US a lot. In Tokyo, the star has admitted to staying at the Park Hyatt, which is where the romantic comedy Lost in Translation was filmed, just by the way. While on the other hand, in the US, or his favorite city New York if we're being particular, he was put up in the Liam Neeson suite at the Fitzpatrick Grand Central Hotel. Receipts or no receipts, a single Google search will give you enough perspective on how much Cillian likes vacationing in style. Apart from big hotels, Cillian happens to be a fan of big water slides as well. Thus, and to indirectly quote him, he is usually where the water slides are, be it Blackpool or Benidorm. His only requirement, it seems, is that they be the highest there are, and that he gets to go down them with his kids head first. Some other things that he likes doing while he's on vacay are drinking and reading. We know that's quite a weird thing to do depending on the type of luxury vacations he takes, but nevertheless for him, no holiday is complete without nice music, a glass of wine, and a good book. Finally, as far as collecting souvenirs goes, he likes keeping the memory alive in his head rather than associating it with an item from the place. Cillian Damien Murphy? More like Cillian Damn Weird Murphy. Pets. One thing that Murphy openly prides himself on is his ability to charm dogs, which doesn't really come as a shock to us because he's had several on-screen and off-screen canine buddies. Now, since there have been reports of him treating dogs that appear as his co-stars to a plethora of treats, ranging from sausages to biscuits, we have reasons to believe that he spends a large portion of his wealth on his pets as well. A recent example of such expenses that we can quote is his dog Spiney's surgery. Though we're not sure what the medical bills exactly came up to, we can guess that it must have been expensive considering that veterinarian care can be quite costly in Ireland. All things considered, and if you happen to be pet owners yourselves, having pets is never inexpensive. Thus, don't be too quick to poke holes in this assumption. We mean the only way we can say anything for sure about any of Kill's affairs is if we were to hold him hostage in our basement. And since we can't, you'll have to make do with hearsay. That's a wrap for this video. What are some causes that you'd support if you were a millionaire? Whose spending habits should we unpack next? Let us know in the comments below. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this. See you in the next one.